I've walked this path longer than most, seen more seasons come and go than I can count. And if there's one thing life has taught me, it's that death does not come unannounced. It whispers, it gives hints, especially with our elders. You see, when you've lived long enough and watched those you love slip away, you start to recognize patterns. Not from books, not from charts, but from quiet observations and aching truths. That's why I'm telling you this today, because someone out there needs to hear it. Someone out there has a mother, a father, a grandparent, maybe even a neighbor, and they don't realize what's coming. But the body, it always knows, and it speaks in ways we don't always listen to. Doctors, those folks in white coats with heavy eyes and tired hearts, they know too. After years of caring for the elderly, they've seen it again and again, and they've spoken quietly among themselves. They've noticed the signs that start showing almost a year before the final breath. Not all at once. Sometimes it's subtle, but if you know what to look for, you can prepare, not to stop it. No one stops death, but to be present, to hold hands tighter, to listen longer, to love more intentionally. The first sign is not dramatic. It doesn't come with alarms or flashing lights. It's something so small that most people overlook it. It's withdrawal, not just from people, but from life itself. The person who once loved Sunday dinners or talking about the weather just sits quietly now. Maybe they skip family gatherings. Maybe they turn the television off more often and stare at the wall. It's not that they're angry. It's not even sadness in the usual sense. It's something deeper, a quiet stepping back, like a tide slowly pulling away from the shore. You see, the soul starts to prepare before the body does, and it does so in silence. Then comes fatigue, not the kind that a nap fixes. I'm talking about bone-deep tiredness, the kind that makes brushing your teeth feel like climbing a mountain. You ask them how they're feeling and they say they're just tired. But it's not just tired, it's a kind of shutting down. Their body, their organs, their energy levels are all slowly dimming. It's hard to explain unless you've seen it, but once you've seen it, you never forget. It's like watching a flame that used to burn brightly now flicker low. And you know deep down it's not going to get brighter again. Another sign is appetite, or rather, the loss of it. Food becomes a chore. Meals are skipped. Favorite dishes are left untouched. They say they're just not hungry, but it's more than that. The body is slowing down. It doesn't need the fuel anymore. Digestion takes energy, and energy is in short supply. Sometimes they'll sip water. Sometimes they'll push a plate away after one bite. And you might feel frustrated. You might say, "Come on, eat something." But it's not stubbornness. It's not depression. It's the body quietly saying, "I'm getting ready." Then there's confusion. Not the kind where they forget a birthday or misplace their keys. It's more like a disconnection. They might forget names they once held dear. They might confuse days, places, even people. It's heartbreaking to watch. But again, it's a sign. The brain, like every other part of the body, starts to dim. And as it does, reality becomes slippery. What matters most in those moments isn't correcting them. It's comforting them, holding their hand, speaking softly, letting them know they're safe, even if they don't fully understand where they are. A fifth sign is pain. Sometimes they'll mention it. Sometimes they won't. But the pain is there. Not always sharp. Often it's just an ache. In the joints, in the back, in the chest. It's the body's way of signaling that things are changing. Sometimes pain shows up not physically but emotionally. You might see tears, you might see frustration, or nothing at all. Just a distant look. But don't ignore it. That pain is real. Even if it's invisible to the eye. The sixth sign is skin changes. Now this one most folks don't notice until it's too late. The skin becomes pale. Sometimes it turns a bit bluish, especially in the hands and feet. The warmth disappears. It's not because of the cold outside. It's because the blood isn't flowing the way it used to. The body is protecting the core, keeping the vital parts going while slowly letting go of the rest. It's a quiet sign, a solemn one, but it speaks volumes if you're paying attention. The last sign. This one hurts the most. It's the loss of joy. The sparkle in the eye fades. The laughter becomes rare. It's not sadness exactly. It's more like acceptance, a settling in, as if they know, even if they don't say it. As if their soul is preparing for something we can't see. They might smile gently. They might hold your hand longer, but their focus shifts. They stop worrying about tomorrow. They live only in the moment, and even then, just barely. This is when you need to be there the most, not with words, but with presence. Sit with them, listen, be quiet if you must, but be there. Now I know, this might be hard to hear. Maybe you're thinking of someone right now, someone showing these signs, and maybe it's breaking your heart a little. That's okay. It should. That means you love them. That means you're human. But don't turn away from this truth, because in that final year, what you do matters. You won't stop death, but you can ease the journey. You can bring peace. You can give dignity. I remember my father. He showed these signs, not all at once, but slowly. At first, he stopped gardening. That man used to love his roses, but one day he just let them go, said he didn't feel like it. Then he started sleeping more, eating less. I didn't want to believe it at first. I told myself he was just tired, just getting older. But then came the forgetting, the distant look, the cool hands, and I knew. Deep in my bones, I knew. So I did what I could. I sat with him, listened to his stories, held his hand even when he didn't know who I was. And when the time came, when he took that last breath, I didn't feel regret. I felt peace, because I had shown up, and I had recognized the signs. That's why I'm telling you this. So you can do the same, so you won't be caught off guard, so you won't waste precious days thinking it's nothing. The body speaks before it stops, and the wise ones listen. You don't need to be a doctor to notice these things. You just need to care, really care. Look past the surface, ask the quiet questions, be patient. These signs are not just warnings, they're invitations. Invitations to be present, to show up, to give love when it matters most. And if you're lucky enough to have someone still here, someone older, someone fading, don't wait. Don't push the signs aside. Sit down, take their hand, tell them you love them. Make peace if you need to. Because one day you'll wish for one more conversation, one more hug, one more smile, and that day comes faster than you think. So yes, doctors reveal these signs, but life shows them too, and now you know. Don't be afraid of the knowing. Use it. Let it guide you. Let it make you softer, kinder, wiser. We don't get to choose when death comes, but we do get to choose how we meet it and how we walk alongside those we love in their final year. Make it count. Now let's clear some common questions. How can we show up for our elderly loved ones in a way that provides comfort, dignity, and presence during their final months? I've seen the seasons of life, all of them, the beginning, the blooming, the fading. And I've learned something that no book can truly teach you. When someone you love is nearing the end, when the days become quieter and the nights a little longer, what matters most is not what you say or do in grand gestures. It's how you show up, not just physically, not just with flowers or meals, but with your heart wide open. And that's something many folks don't learn until it's almost too late. I remember sitting by my mother's bedside during her final months. She wasn't the same woman who used to dance barefoot in the kitchen or sing off-key just to make me laugh. Her voice was softer, her steps slower, but her eyes, those tired, tender eyes, still held stories. And what she needed most wasn't more medicine. It wasn't a miracle. She needed presence. Real, full, undivided presence. The first way to show up for someone in those final months is simple, though not always easy. Be there. Not just once in a while, not just for holidays or birthdays, but regularly, even when it feels awkward, even when you don't know what to say. Sit beside them. You don't need to fill every silence with words. Sometimes just the sound of your breathing beside theirs is enough. Sometimes just holding a hand can say more than 1,000 conversations ever could. You see, dignity is not just about keeping someone clean and comfortable, though that's part of it. It's also about seeing them as whole, even as they fade. Don't treat them like a burden or a chore. Don't speak over them or about them as if they're already gone. Speak to them. Look them in the eye. Listen even if their voice trembles or their memory skips. When you listen with patience, You remind them that they still matter, that their life still carries weight. I remember a moment with my grandfather. He'd lost most of his strength, and the world around him moved faster than he could keep up with. But one day, I brought him an old harmonica he used to play. His hands were shaky, but when he held that instrument, his eyes lit up just a bit. He didn't play much, just a few soft notes. But for that moment, he wasn't just an old man in a recliner. He was a musician, a father, a soul full of memories. And that's the kind of dignity we can offer. Little acts that remind them of who they are, not just what they're going through. Another way to show up is by stepping into their world, not dragging them into ours. That means slowing down. It means letting go of the rush. You don't need to talk about tomorrow's news or argue about things that don't matter anymore. Instead, ask them what they remember, what they loved, what made them laugh when they were your age. Let them tell their stories, even if you've heard them 100 times. Let them relive the golden parts of their life. It's in the remembering that they often find peace. And don't shy away from the hard conversations. So many people avoid talking about death. They think silence is kinder. But the truth is, when death is near, most people know it. And what they really want is to be understood, not pitied. Ask what they want, what they're afraid of, what brings them comfort. Maybe they want a certain song played. Maybe they want to be buried in that old blue sweater. Maybe they just want to hear you say you'll be okay. These are not morbid talks. They are sacred. And when you walk through that honesty together, something tender and healing happens. Comfort, too, is in the details. The way you fluff their pillow, the way you bring their favorite blanket, even if it's threadbare and old. The way you learn how to make their tea just right. It's the soft music in the background. The photo of their wedding day beside the bed. The way you speak their name gently. These things may seem small, but they build a shelter of love around someone who feels the coldness of goodbye creeping in. There's also a kind of comfort that comes from routine. In the final months, everything feels uncertain. But if you show up at the same time every day, or if you read a chapter from the same book each evening, it gives them something to hold on to. A rhythm, a touchstone. And that rhythm becomes a thread that connects their fragile days. And let me tell you something that might be hard to hear. Don't try to fix everything. You can't reverse time. You can't make them young again. What you can do is offer your presence, your acceptance, and your steady hand. Grief often begins before the last breath is taken. That's normal. You'll feel helpless, you'll feel heavy, but don't let those feelings keep you from showing up. Show up tired, show up scared, show up anyway. I've watched people die alone, not because no one loved them, but because no one knew how to sit with death. It's not pretty, it's not neat, but it can be sacred if you're willing to be there through the discomfort, through the mess, through the tears, and don't forget to laugh. Yes, even then. Death is heavy, but life still happens around it. Tell the silly stories. Bring up the time they got lost on the way to their own anniversary dinner. Share the joke they used to tell at every party. Laughter doesn't take away the seriousness of the moment. It honors the life that's still present. It reminds both of you that before the dying, there was so much living. In those final months, your presence becomes the gift. Not the things you buy, not the big gestures, just you, your time, your attention, your listening, your remembering. When the end comes, and it always does, you won't remember every word spoken, but you will remember the stillness of those moments, the squeeze of their hand, the way their eyes looked at you when they knew they weren't alone. So if you ask me how to show up for someone at the end, I'll say this: be soft, be slow, be near. Let them be seen, let them be heard, and let them be loved without condition, right until the last breath. Because in the end, that's what matters most. Not how we leave, but how we're held when we go. Why do medical professionals often witness families who were too late in realizing these signs, and what do those stories teach us? I've lived long enough to sit beside many bedsides, watch countless hands be held, and see just as many let go. And in all that time, in all those quiet rooms with dim lights and soft breathing, I've seen something that breaks a heart deeper than the final breath ever could. It's the look in a family member's eyes when they realize they came too late. Not too late to say goodbye, maybe, but too late to truly see what had been unfolding for months. And the thing is, the doctors, the nurses, those folks in scrubs who carry tired souls and kind eyes, they see this too, again and again. Families rushing in with panic, with guilt, with disbelief, saying things like, "We didn't know it was this bad," or "If only we'd noticed sooner." And every time, it's the same heartbreak, just wearing different faces. So why does this happen so often? Why do people miss the signs that death is nearing? I'll tell you, not with judgment, but with understanding. Because I've been there too. The truth is, we don't want to believe it. That's the first and biggest reason. We look at someone we love and we see them as they were, not as they are. We remember the woman who used to cook Sunday meals, not the woman now too tired to chew. We remember the man who fixed the roof without breaking a sweat, not the man now too weak to hold a cup. Love makes us see what we want to see. And that kind of love, though beautiful, can also be blinding. Then there's the pace of life. Everyone's in a rush these days, running from one errand to another, focused on jobs, on bills, on the next vacation, on fixing everything all the time. And the elderly, they tend to fade quietly. Not loudly, not with drama. They step back, they sleep more, they talk less. And if you're not paying close attention, you think, oh, they're just getting old. You tell yourself it's nothing. You put off the visit, you forget to call, and before you know it, too many weeks have passed. And by then, sometimes it's too late. I remember a young woman, maybe in her 30s, who came to see her father in the hospital. I was sitting in the waiting room when she arrived. Her eyes were wide, her voice cracked. "I didn't know," she kept saying. "I just saw him a few weeks ago. He looked fine." But when you asked the nurses, they'd tell you he'd been declining for months, eating less, sleeping more, getting confused. He'd been ready, but she hadn't been, because she didn't know what to look for. And more than that, she wasn't ready to look. You see, most people aren't taught these things. We don't grow up learning what death looks like before it arrives. We think it's sudden. We think it's dramatic. But most of the time, it's quiet, a slow letting go. A series of small signs that build up like a whisper until it becomes a truth. And when you haven't seen it before, when no one has told you, you miss it. That's why doctors and nurses carry stories in their hearts that never leave. Because they see families walk in with regret. Not because they didn't care, but because they didn't know. Or they were too scared to face it. There's another piece to this too. Hope. It's a beautiful thing, but it can also cloud reality. Families hold on to hope like a life raft. He'll bounce back. She just needs rest. We're strong in this family. And it's true, hope keeps us going. But sometimes that hope turns into denial. And when that happens, people stop listening to what the body is saying. They ignore the weight loss, the silence, the withdrawal. They think if they don't speak of death, it won't come. But it does. And then they are left unprepared. And that pain runs deep. So what do these stories teach us? They teach us to pay attention. Not just to what's said, but to what's not. If someone stops talking as much, stops eating, stops showing interest in the things they used to love, we need to notice. Not with fear, but with compassion. These stories teach us to visit more, to call more, to ask deeper questions, not just how are you, but how are you really? And then to wait for the answer, even if it takes time to come. They also teach us to have the hard conversations early. I know it's uncomfortable. No one wants to talk about death. But the truth is, those conversations are not about dying. They're about loving, about understanding, about making sure we know what someone wants before the final moments come. Do they want to be at home? Do they want music playing? Do they want silence? These are not easy questions. But they're important. And when we ask them, when we talk openly, we give the people we love a final gift. The gift of being seen, the gift of being heard, the gift of being honored. And these stories, they remind us not to take time for granted. Don't wait for a holiday to visit. Don't wait for the right moment to say what you need to say. Life moves fast, and death doesn't always give warnings we understand in time. But if we slow down, if we listen closely, The signs are there. And when we see them, we can lean in instead of pulling away. I'll tell you something else. The families who see the signs early, who accept them, who walk through those final months with presence and grace, they carry sorrow, yes, but they also carry peace. They look back and say, I was there. I heard him. I held her hand. And that kind of peace, it lasts. Long after the flowers have wilted and the casseroles are gone. So no, doctors and nurses aren't surprised anymore when families come in too late. But it still hurts them because they know it didn't have to be that way. And that's why I'm telling you now. So you can look with clearer eyes. So you can listen more carefully. So you don't have to carry the weight of what you didn't see. Death will come. That's not in your hands. But how you show up before it does. That's something you can choose. And it makes all the difference. In facing the possibility of death in someone we love, what does it teach us about how we should be living our own lives right now? When you've lived long enough, you begin to see that death isn't just an end. It's a mirror, not the kind that shows your wrinkles or gray hairs. No, this mirror looks deeper. It holds up a reflection of your life, your choices, your time. And let me tell you something most people don't learn until it's too late. Facing the possibility of losing someone you love changes the way you see everything. It shakes you, not just in sorrow, but in clarity. It strips away the nonsense and leaves only what matters. And if you pay close attention, it teaches you how to live. Not tomorrow, not someday, but right now. I remember the first time I truly felt it. My brother was fading. Cancer had made a quiet home in his body before any of us even knew it was there. By the time we realized, the clock was already ticking loud. I watched him shrink in that hospital bed, not just in body, but in time. Each day felt shorter, each moment more precious. And in those quiet visits, I learned things I never expected. I learned that the nearness of death doesn't just tell you how to love someone better. It whispers in your ear about how to love your own life more fully. You start to see the beauty in what you once overlooked, the way your child laughs in their sleep, the taste of fresh bread, the warmth of the sun on your back. Things that seem ordinary suddenly become sacred, because when you're close to losing someone, you realize how little time you truly have, and not just with them, but with everything. You stop waiting for life to feel big and perfect and start appreciating the small things that are right in front of you. I saw it in my brother. When he knew he was dying, he didn't talk about regrets like missed business deals or money lost. No, he talked about people, about moments. He cried about not saying, I love you enough. He wished he had taken more walks with his wife. He spoke of fishing trips we never went on. And I thought, my God, how much we waste. How many days we spend angry over nothing. How many times we rush through conversations or put off saying what needs to be said. So what does death teach us about living? It teaches us to slow down. Not because we're lazy, but because we finally understand that rushing isn't the same as living. We rush from work to chores to sleep, thinking we're being productive. But we forget to look up at the sky. We forget to ask our parents how they're really doing. We forget to hold our partner's hand for no reason at all. And then one day we sit at a bedside and wish we had done it differently. It teaches us to speak, honestly, openly. Death doesn't care for silence. So why should we? If you love someone, tell them. If you're sorry, say it. If you need someone, ask. Pride won't matter in the end, but love will. Connection will. The words you speak today can echo for decades in someone's heart, or they can haunt you as words left unsaid. That choice is yours, every single day. It teaches us to forgive. I've watched people carry anger into their final days like a weight chained to their chest. And I've seen the ones who chose to let go. Their faces looked lighter, even if their bodies were failing. Because when you're close to the end, you realize how heavy bitterness can be. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting or pretending the pain never happened. It's about setting yourself free, about not letting the hurt define your story, about choosing peace over punishment. And maybe most of all, death teaches us to be present, truly present. Not half listening with your phone in your hand, not nodding while thinking about your to-do list, but being here, fully, with your eyes, with your heart. Because when you sit with someone who is dying, you don't multitask. You don't distract yourself. You give them your everything. And the strange, beautiful thing is, that's how we should be living with everyone. Every day. I've seen people awaken during those final weeks. People who live most of their lives asleep at the wheel suddenly start noticing the world. They want to smell flowers, hear music, feel the wind. And I think, why wait? Why does it take the threat of death for us to wake up to life? Why do we spend so long worrying about things that won't matter when we're gone? If you're reading this, if someone you love is nearing the end, then you've been given a gift. A painful gift, yes, but one filled with wisdom. It is the kind of clarity most people ignore until it's too late. You're being invited to live better, more honestly, more gently, with more intention. You're being reminded that this life isn't forever, that your days, your minutes, your conversations, they all matter more than you realize. So make the phone call, hug your children longer, say, "I'm proud of you," and mean it. Eat dinner without your phone. Sit outside and watch the stars. Apologize first, laugh loud, cry if you need to, and stop waiting for some perfect moment to enjoy your life. Because that moment is already here. It's been here the whole time. The nearness of death doesn't just take someone from you. It also gives you something, a clearer view of what counts. It strips away the layers we hide behind and shows us the simple truth, that in the end, we are not remembered for our titles or our possessions. We are remembered for how we made others feel, for the stories we shared, for the love we gave, and for the life we lived, even in the face of loss. So let that knowledge change you. Let it shape your days. Let it soften your heart and sharpen your attention. Because life in all its fragile beauty is happening right now, and every breath you take is a chance to live it well. If you liked today's discussion, don't forget to like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay updated with every video we release. And yes, don't forget to share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. Every comment is special to us. Your feedback helps us improve further. We'll continue to meet you in every new video on this channel. So until next time, take care.